So shout out to the different leaking teams. There was Rukasu on the Atsu subreddit. There was Justice. There was Pepito. There was a lot of people helping out with leaks this week and, you know, taking care of the community in that way. It took a little while to get the My Hero leaks and to get the full chapter summary and everything. I stayed up really late last night to try to like be the first to upload, but then it just ended up not coming out. Like, I mean, the chapter pages and stuff came out thanks to Pepito, but yeah, not the summary, which is kind of what I look for. So let's get to that summary. Thanks to Rukasu, that's the one I'm going to be reading, and let's do it. So, chapter 361, Instability. The chapter begins with a little Tenko Shimura inside Shigaraki's head, thinking about what Mirio said. He remembers telling his mother about how he used to play with his friends. And then, what we see next is Shigaraki shouting out loud that Mikan and Tomo-chan always told him that he was kind, and that Mon-chan, his dog, always wanted to go out for a walk with him. So of course he had friends. Mirio is surprised and apologizes, thinking that he's touched on a sensitive subject. Now, this hits true to something that I've been saying for a very, very long time. I remember a long time ago in the fandom, before we saw that Tenko was actually inside of Shigaraki in that scene of Deku and the vestige tug-of-war and the one-for-all tug-of-war in the war arc, I tried to make it a very big point on Twitter to tell people that I believe that Tenko Shimura is still in there, right? That I believe that Shigaraki's personality is a manufactured personality by All For One, that All For One created that personality so it will be easier to control Tenko Shimura, and then he added himself in there, so you effectively have All For One, a personality that All For One created, which is Shigaraki, and then you have Tenko Shimura, which is the actual person, the actual soul, the actual like individual that was in there. And what do we know about Tenko Shimura, right? We know that Tenko Shimura got his quirk weirdly a year after people are supposed to not be able to get their quirks anymore, right? People get their quirks at the latest at the age of 4. He got his at the age of 5. Let that tell you, you can imply whatever you want about what that means, right? But then beyond that, we also have the fact that we know that Tenko is actually described as being very All Might. Like in the scene that Shigaraki's actually remembering from the past where he was talking about his mom and the friends and stuff, that is when he's described as being All Might, like, because he takes all the people that no one else wants to play with and he brings them in and, you know, brings them into a group and they all play together, right? And he kind of saves them in that way and brings them into society proper. That's kind of the symbolism there. And he also does that with the League of Villains, right? Like, that's a thing that has still been very much at the core of Shigaraki's character. And I guess the way that he cares about his friends in certain moments, we do see that original kind of Tenko aspect of his personality come out, but now it's very, very much at odds with who his Shigaraki personality is and who the All For One personality is. So it's interesting to see him step out and like that being the trigger, what Mirio said about him not having friends, that being the trigger for the actual Shigaraki or actual Tenko personality to take control for a second from All For One, which is something that we've seen Shigaraki is having a really hard time doing, right? Like taking full control back, even though All For One and him are fused at this point almost. So Mirio realizes that Shigaraki's real body is much tougher than the hands that are going around because his wave-boosted punch from earlier barely caused a scratch. And now this is true. We see that Shigaraki's little hands and fingers that he's growing everywhere, they're breaking off easily. It seems like they're pretty easy to destroy because people are jumping off them and kicking them and destroying them. But we know that Shigaraki's actual body isn't going to take that much damage easily, right? It's not going to bend and break from simple stuff like that after we saw that it survived against Star and Stripe, and we've seen like Deku do a lot of punches at 100% against this same body and like how much damage that was capable of doing, you know? So for anything here to do that level of damage besides Bakugo's explosion, which did do a good job at actually singeing and burning the hell out of Shigaraki's face and doing some what it seems like to be concrete damage, I think they're very lucky that that doesn't extend to all the hands that are everywhere, right? Because then Shigaraki would have a much more perfect defense than he already has. It took Bakugo doing all those explosions to even cut them a path to get near Shigaraki in the first place and kind of clear the area. So if those things all had the same durability as like All Might, like Shigaraki does, that would be like an almost impossible situation, you know what I mean? So thank God that's not the case with all of Shigaraki's fingers. But that does pose a problem that we're going to have to answer in this chapter, which is going to be how do we take on Shigaraki despite the fact that he's very, very hard to injure, very, very hard to stun, and who here has the capability of doing that before Deku gets here? All For One regains consciousness and says that although he and Tamura have merged and become one, there's still one entity that is not fully merged, Tenko Shimura. We just spoke on that. He judges that spending more time in this fight will be tiring and decides to ignore Mirio, starting to walk towards Bakugo. And yeah, we know that All For One in a certain sense has like a limited amount of time that he can spend in Shigaraki's body body while they're fused and everything doing anything, because things start to get a little unstable. The Shigaraki personality starts trying to break free. Then you have the whole thing of all the vestiges of the different quirks attacking all for one like previously. That now you have a whole other Shigaraki personality, I guess the original personality, kind of becoming aware and trying to take control also. And then you have the potential that Deku is going to free him and all that stuff. I understand why All for One / Shigaraki is trying to get out of this fight as soon as he possibly can, but I think it's going to be a really long fight for him because Deku's not even there yet, and Deku's going to give him hell. Good luck, buddy. Good luck trying to get out of that fight anytime soon. Mirio's frustrated because he thought he could at least buy some time, and a flashback of the big three leaving for battle begins right after Mirio's arrival in chapter 359, back when Mirio dived in and took Bakugo away from Shigaraki and gave him the genus, and we saw, Tamaki doing his scorpion stuff and Nejire shooting the pikes and whatnot. He asked Nejire and Tamaki to take the initiative in the attack while he uses the element of surprise to rescue Bakugo. Soon after, he would also go on the offensive in order to buy time for the one who could really do considerable damage to Shigaraki, Suneater. So apparently that is the actual plan here, right? For Suneater to somehow do considerable damage to Shigaraki while Mirio is completely blitzing Shigaraki and annoying him and pestering him and taking all of his attention. Back in the present, we see Gina's getting up and getting ready to fight Shigaraki because, he's walking towards a student, gotta do something, can't just let you come over here. And we also see Nejire hopping in and joining in and throwing some pikes Shigaraki's way as Shigaraki kind of starts brushing it off and growing hands and skating on hands and getting away and even sending hands back at Nejire to attack. We actually see another flashback with Nejire this time, right? And this kind of got me worried because how Horikoshi's been lately, right? With certain characters, let's be honest, female characters, he's been going kind of crazy lately, dropping bodies for no reason and doing damage. And now suddenly we have the big three fighting against Shigaraki. You know what I mean? She's getting a random flashback here. It's uh-oh. No, baby girl, what's about to happen? But it doesn't end up as bad as we think, actually. She does take a little bit of damage from Shigaraki, but we do see a flashback where Nejire pretty much says that everyone thought she was overconfident, right? And because she had a strong quirk, that she looked down on everyone. And Tamaki was actually the one to bring her out of her shell. And by asking her, who is your favorite hero, very much in the same way that Mirio did to him to make them friends, he kind of welcomed her into the friendship and into the group and brought her out of her shell. And kind of helped Nejire become that very, very happy and smiley and positive person that we see now. So as Nejire is dodging these attacks from Shigaraki and kind of getting cut a little here and on the waist, we see her send a pike off away from Shigaraki, actually, towards Tamaki, towards Suneater. And Tamaki, I believe he eats some of it because it's listed in the attack that we're going to see in a second, or that we're going to talk about. But I believe Tamaki eats some of Nejire's energy so that he can make his own kind of arm cannon. You know what I mean? How Nejire shoots her stuff from her arms. He's making his own giant arm cannon out of everything that he's eaten, I believe. Or he went to a buffet, or some of the stuff you actually can't even find that easily. He has zebra and stuff there. They definitely randomly prepared. They had Lunch Rush prepare a smorgasbord, a buffet for Tamaki, for him to have one of every animal. And it looks horrifying. It's disgusting. There's tarantula legs coming out. Look at the kitty in the background. Oh, over there. There's tarantula legs, there's whale parts and everything, and it's all gonna form this giant disgusting arm that is gonna shoot a Nejire beam, I guess, at Shigaraki and hopefully stun him or do something. I don't know what they're planning on it doing. Maybe it'll do enough damage that Shigaraki has to sit one out, but I feel like Shigaraki's body is adapting to everything that's happening. So even if they do damage to his stomach or pierce him, I feel like a giant eyeball or mouth would open up there, and that would be another form of healing. So we're gonna see. I think the body horror is only gonna continue. Horikoshi seems to really be a fan of it right now, but those are the spoilers for this chapter of My Hero Academia, chapter 361. So let me know if that sounds hyped to you guys or sounds excited. It was pretty hyped to me. The 11 pages that we saw were pretty great. I believe the chapter is only 11 pages long, so I hope Horikoshi gets a break soon and he gets a rest so we can go back to full power for the end of this arc. I know he wants to close it out very strong, and I know we're not too close to that, but we're starting to get back to a bunch of cliffhangers and stuff, I bet. What's going on with that light in Dabi's chest, and what's going on with Toga and Sad Man's Parade and stuff like that. I think we are going to get back to that stuff soon, so hopefully Horikoshi gets a break and then he can come back absolutely strong and knock it out of the park. So this is Pineapple. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.